a long time that I haven't been in the conferences of the association. So I'm standing here as a grandmother of the association. And as a grandmother, I have a lot of grandchildren, and I love them all. So, dear friends, first of all, I want to say, I have to go like this, I have to take it like this. Okay. First of all, I want to thank you, Mayor, for inviting me. I know that you were scared, what am I going to say, because with me you can never know, right? So we'll see afterward, but I must give you a compliment that I think that this conference was a great conference. I think that we shared a lot, and I will share with you tonight about my feelings in the last 2 years. I feel that we are one, and I will relate to it, to the feeling toward the diaspora and the people in the State of Israel. I always believe it has to be one, but I will elaborate about it. And there is a big competition with the food, and how can I compete with the food? So I try not to be long, and then we can go back together. The last conference of the organization took place in November 2019. There were, of course, several reasons for the long gap since then, among them the COVID-19, of course, and later the terrible war, which we all hope has now come to an end. These conferences, both past and present, have always played a vital role in the organization's activities. There were two reasons for that, and one is to deal with the subjects that are central to our mission and to promote our vision. And that is why our conferences were held in various places around the world. The second was the mutual friendship. Over the years, friendships were formed through this gathering, and a group of members came to attend most of the conferences, developing close personal bonds. Sadly, many dear friends who were pillars of our organizations are no longer with us. Yet, as it should be, the organization continues to thrive and to do important and meaningful work under the leadership of our President Mayor, and I think we should clap our hands for what he does. We heard about some of these activities during the conference, but I assure you that a great deal of significant work takes place on an ongoing basis. Mayor also organized this important conference together with a skilled and dedicated team, which you did thank them in the afternoon, so I won't say it again. Looking back at the time when I first assumed the role of chair, I recall turning to the late Hadassah Benito, from whom I learned so much. We spoke about how to choose the issues our organization should address in daily life. What Hadassah told me has stayed with me ever since. She said, and I'm quoting, "Every morning when I wake up, I ask myself, what can I do today for the benefit of the Jewish people, given the circumstances we face? I realize that in many situations, if one doesn't respond immediately, one may never respond at all." Guided by this thought, I tried sincerely to act in every way possible through our organization for the benefit of the Jewish people in the State of Israel. Tonight, I would like to share briefly some of what I've experienced since October 2023, and even before, as someone who was born before the establishment of the state, lives in Israel, and like many others, deeply loves our country. I do not intend to go into the details of the judicial reform announced by the Minister of Justice at the start of his term, nor into other developments that were difficult to accept following the formation of the government. I assume this audience is well aware, especially now after our conference, of the event that unfolded in Israel before October 7th, and especially what occurred afterward. Ariel, you were talking when you spoke about your dilemma to speak about the government. And you said that when it comes to an existence of the State of Israel, you decided that your obligation, I think, is to say what you feel. And I feel just the same. I won't do it very extreme, but I will tell you what I felt as someone that was in our state. It's not surprising that the majority of Israelis, and particularly the families of the hostages and the bereaved, have demanded a state commission of inquiry to examine the reasons that led to the horrific attack. The nation was in a deep shock. I'm not so sure that we are out of it now. No one could comprehend how such a tragedy could happen to us with an army we believe to be strong and capable of anything. We are still asking this question. Some senior officials have since taken responsibility and resigned, but these steps cannot replace the necessity of a full investigation, one that unfortunately has still not been established. In the last few days before we left, the government decided to establish an investigation committee. Strangely, this committee will not be activated according to the law. We have a law saying specifically how such a committee should be. I hope with all my heart, and we are fighting for it, that we'll have this committee because everyone in our nation has the right to know what happened to us. We still don't understand. After October 7th, instead of the government taking the reins, what emerged was an extraordinary wave of civilian initiative mobilizing across every aspect of daily life. The hostages' headquarters was formed and became a home and anchor for the hostages' families. I volunteered with a group of diplomats in this center. And I can tell you that it was really a second home for all these families who strengthened them. There were so many volunteers that really gave them a home and warmth, whatever they needed. By the way, we heard today that this headquarters is going to be closed. Yet in the wake of the attack, our soldiers who went out to fight were united comrades in arms, with no trace of political argument. Their unity gave us great hope. Sadly, no such guiding spirit emerged from the government. On the contrary, several ministers, as we take, made inflammatory remarks that endangered our soldiers, as later became evident. This statement deepened the social split that we had in the nation. I want to come back today to Roi's lecture, Roi's and his panel in the afternoon. You know, I was sitting there and thinking, what they have to go through today with what we have in order to fight things in the international courts. I remember myself, I started with universal jurisdiction. That at that time, before the ICC, countries took themselves jurisdiction and they tried people that made very deep, complaints about international law, etc. And I defended Prime Minister Sharon in Belgium. This was one of the known universal jurisdiction thing. But at that time, the Supreme Court was very strong, and we had support from all over because they knew that soldiers that did something that usually the Israeli Defense Army is not doing will be tried, it will be investigated. So I came with a real strong backing. And today, when we heard what those young people that are so bright, that working today has to go over, it's much more difficult. I'm sure that they will do it when I heard them today. But I remember whenever I went to the Council of Europe to extradition treaty, whatever, we always heard the admiration of our Supreme Court, Judge Barak at the time, and it was such a good feeling that you are coming for such background, which unfortunately today it's not the same. In addition, the long-standing dispute over the military conscription over the ultra-Orthodox has grown more acute, especially in the light of the heavy price this war has exacted. And the sense among serving soldiers that the burden falls almost entirely on them. With elections approaching, political tension are mounting. As if all this were not enough, new corruption scandals have surfaced, the most recent involving the Labor Federation. In the north, we have the Hezbollah refuses to disarm before a weak Lebanese government, forcing the IDF to intervene again and again. In the south, the situation remains fragile. Hamas too refuses to lay down its arms, and it is unclear where things are heading. Iran, meanwhile, waits for the opportunity, and if we count the time from October 7th until now, we have lived through nearly 2 impossible years on top of the hardship of the pandemic. I share all this with you to help you understand, the Israelis here understand, the complex reality we are living in. Yet, despite of everything, Israeli society continues to show remarkable solidarity and generosity toward those affected by the war and by October 7th. This is to our great credit as people. Today, when I was writing this, the funeral of Lieutenant Hadar Goldin took place. His body was kidnapped during a ceasefire in Operation Protective Edge and held by the Hamas for 11.5 years. Throughout all those years, his family tirelessly appealed to the government and others to bring him home for a proper burial. They are a real and noble family. I need not elaborate on the countless demonstrations and public efforts calling for return on all hostages alive and fallen alike, driven by a profound sense of mutual responsibility and the moral principle that we never leave any soldier and any civilian behind. As we gather here tonight, all surviving hostages have been returned, but 3 fallen hostages still await return to burial in Israel. The families and indeed entire nation feel that our mission will not be completed until every one of them will be at home. It is clear to me that without the immense public pressure this would never have been achieved, and for that I feel great pride. After so many years of witnessing both joy and hardship in our country, I never imagined we would face the reality of October 7th. Yet throughout this painful period, I've seen people divided in opinion, but steadfast in spirit, united in compassion, and in the will to move forward. The volunteerism, the endless acts of kindness, the sense that every bereaved family had a larger family standing beside them, all of these give reason for hope. And I want to stay with a word of hope, but before I'm ending my words, I want to relate to the ties that I always believed, that should be between the State of Israel and the Gola, as we say. I remember once I went with Professor David Libai to the Netherlands. May you rest in peace. He passed away not a long time ago. And we visited the university, and close to the university was a synagogue. In this synagogue, all the Jews were murdered in the Holocaust. And they made it as a habit that the Jewish student in the synagogue, used to come once a month and to activate the synagogue in order not to stop what used to be there. And at the end of when we met at the gathering together, I asked David to speak to the students. And I told them at that time, every one of you was born in a different country, and this is your choice to decide where you want to live, what you want to do. But you should know that if once you would like to come to Israel, you have a home. And what I want to tell you here, and all the time when we are in the conferences and when I'm in different places, seeing people that don't live in Israel, our strength, I believe, is in the contact between the people that live out of Israel and the people in Israel. We are much stronger when there are very good ties. It's good to hear from people that live abroad, what do they think? You know, once we used to say, oh, they live abroad, we live here, why should they give us all kind of consultation or something? It's not true, because we are involved together, we are the same nation. As much as we'll be together, I think we'll be stronger. And you know, even today when I heard the panel concerning all the anti-Semitism about on the internet, etc., I don't know, something came to my mind that maybe we should do a task force of lawyers, Jewish lawyers all over, in order to fight this thing. We have to think about it, our association. It's very easy for me to give you suggestions when I'm not doing it, but I'm doing it with all my heart. And I wish every one of you safe trip home, and we will look for better times, and I believe that we'll reach them. So thank you very much.